Let's talk about Ron Paul on national defense.
Well, you know, Ron is a veteran. He served in the Air Force. He was an Air Force surgeon, flight surgeon. I think he was drafted during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So he has served his country. And, you know, he is for 100% for national defense. Now, he makes the point that, you know, national defense means, you know, defending America and defending the homeland. He very rightly points out that getting involved in foreign conflicts where the national interest is not at stake is actually counterproductive to national defense. So he was against the Iraq War, and he's in favor of ending that war as expeditiously as possible. But he takes it even further. I mean, it's not just about Iraq. It's not just about, you know, one failed conflict or another. It's actually about the whole policy that you know, America should have bases in 130 countries, and should be, you know, protecting countries like South Korea and Japan and Germany, which quite clearly can defend themselves and are quite rich at this point. So, you know, he talks about bringing the troops home, bringing our money back, and defending America, and especially our borders, given our situation with immigration at this point.
And I want to get into that a little further, but I want to just follow up on something you said, because for many years in this country's history, the term isolationist was used as kind of a pejorative term. But it maybe not everybody thought of it like that. But is Ron Paul what you would typically consider a classical isolationist? Does he want to just defend America from its borders and forget about the rest of the world?
Rob, there's a significant difference between isolationism and non-interventionalism. Ron is a non-interventionalist. He believes we should talk with countries, we should trade with them, but we should stay out of entangling foreign alliances. We should keep to ourselves and mind our own business. And that's the way the Republican Party, that's been on their platform for many years. Eisenhower ran in '52 on getting us out of Korea. Nixon ran on getting us out of Vietnam. Republicans have been the party of stopping wars, not starting wars. And somehow this has gotten turned on its head. And non-interventionism has been confused with isolationism. They're two completely different things. And it's up to individuals to go out there and look at the difference for themselves. You know, we come on the radio, we can't convince anybody, and I'm not trying to convince anybody to vote for Ron necessarily. I'm trying to get people to go out and look for themselves.
This is important because I think a lot of times people go to the polls, and I've seen it standing here at the local polls, and they don't know anything about the candidates. They know the candidate in this community has a D after the name, and that means they're good because they're a Democrat. They don't even know who the names are. I really love what you said, Bill Ways, because we want people to be informed voters, and that means go do the exploration for yourself. Don't let anybody tell you how to vote. Figure out, based on your own principles, who is the candidate that best meets your own ideals, and then cast your vote there. I think it's a great point, and I'm glad you brought it up. Let's get to border security and immigration. It is a huge issue. America is becoming a fifth column for other countries. It is not healthy. What does Ron Paul say about border security and immigration?
Yeah, well, you know, Ron comes from a border state, Texas, and he has seen the effects of the negative side of immigration firsthand. He's a doctor, and he's seen the situation where, you know, the public utilities, essentially, the hospitals and the schools are overwhelmed by the demand of immigration. So, however, you know, he's not for putting up a fence. He's not for keeping people out. He basically says, look, this is at its heart. This is an economic problem. I mean, if we were a much more prosperous country, then we would have we would be welcoming immigrants with open arms like we did, you know, at the turn of the century. So, you know, what he believes in, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he believes in, you know, not subsidizing immigration. He certainly is against amnesty, you know, which is completely unfair. I think.
Well, he has 4 basic points on the border, or on immigration. 1, no amnesty. 2, secure the border. 3, enforce the current laws. And 4, no social service benefits to illegal aliens.
News Radio 1070 WINA, and I should think it's important to clarify that I think this country does open immigrants with open arms. It is illegal immigrants that people are up in arms about. Most people in this country think that immigration is a wonderful thing and builds the country, but it needs to be controlled, and I think that that kind of distinction is lost quite often. All right, we have callers. The lines are lighting up here. Buddy Weber, our friend Buddy Weber is on line number 1. Hey, Buddy, welcome to the Schilling Show.
Well, I can assure you that when Ron Paul looks at our stance on war, he does not look at international opinion or international law. He looks to our Constitution. And according to our Constitution, this isn't a legal war. The Constitution specifically states that it's the Congress's duty to declare war, and at that point, the President becomes the Commander-in-Chief. The Congress just passed the buck. They just kicked the can down the road, gave the President authority without ever officially declaring war. This is what got us into situations like Korea, where we still have troops there 65 years later. This is what got us into situations like Vietnam. We're friends with Vietnam now. We trade with them. Their representatives come here. We have an embassy there. So as far as the illegality of the war goes, the Congress did never officially declare war.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, Ron is definitely, look, he's 100% in favor of defending this country, and in fact, he's actually the only person who's actually thought about creative ways in which we can go after terrorism. I mean, using letters of marque and reprisal, which is actually a time-honored tool that the Constitution does afford us to actually go and let's put a price on Osama bin Laden's head. You know, and by the way, you know, where is Osama bin Laden? We haven't gotten him, right? So I think he makes the point that, look, we've got to follow the Constitution. But we've also got to be, you know, very realistic about our approach here. I mean, are we going to be in another situation where we're going to occupy a country for 100 years, like the front runner says? You know, that's just that is a recipe for bankruptcy, which is certainly not good for our national defense.
Buddy, are you still there?
Well, you know, Ron is definitely. I mean, you know, I think you know. I mean, he is not in favor of the United Nations. In fact, he's in favor of pulling out of the United Nations. So
Here, here.
Yeah, well, he's been called over and over again the champion of the Constitution. I believe that any issue that he gives his opinion on is firmly based in a constitutional framework.
And we should let people know that there is a straw poll and a breakfast this morning. Buddy, you want to tell us about it? So 8:30 this morning at Golden Corral, and we're running up against a time limitation. So if people want to hear this conversation continued, Golden Corral this morning at 8:30. It is open to the public and chaired by the Albemarle Republicans. Hey, Buddy Weber, thank you so much. All right, News Radio 1070 WINA. Guys, we've got about 30 seconds to wrap it. Go ahead. Final comments.
Why Ron Paul? That's what I get asked a lot. Ron Paul is the only candidate that will restore the original content of the Constitution, which maximizes individual liberty and restrains the government from doing things that they shouldn't be doing, frankly.
I would add that, by the way, if you want to learn more about Ron Paul, go to ronpaul2008.com. I would make a special appeal as well to the supporters of the candidates that have dropped out, Romney and Thompson and others. You know, Ron Paul is elucidating the positions of the core principles of the Republican Party.
All right. The website.
ronpaul2008.com.
Okay, very good. David Brown and Bill Ways, thank you so much for coming in this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks,
All right.
Rob.
News Radio 1070 WINA. Boy, it goes fast around here. Coming up, Josh Goldschmidt and Greg Slater are in the house to talk about affordable housing from the developer's point of view. That's after the news.